Hello, hello, hello. Back again, aren't we, for another exciting instalment of the Consonance Course. We're firmly into our deep dive zone at the moment, and today we are deep diving into data quality, which is a little bit thrilling. Data quality is not optional, really, is it? I really wanted to show you actually. I went to Amazon just before starting this video going, and I thought, quick, find an example of bad data quality. I don't like to, go to other people's pages and, point the finger or anything. But on the other hand, I typed TBA into the thing up there, and look, the contributor is TBA. Just like you don't want to be the one whose data goes to Amazon and there's something like that, and the contributor, emails the team and says, "What? Why am I down as?" So today is all about avoiding the mortification that can occur in the real world when we don't get our data quality just right. And there's quite a few other mortifying examples on the internet, as I'm sure you'll be able to discover for yourself. So we are going to look at the following things today. We're going to look at data quality. And by the way, we are following this. Let me go to the website because we're following this page in this set of videos. We are looking at the Consonance 101 page, and long-time listeners to this channel will know that we've already covered add new works and products. We've done import data from spreadsheets. We have done import images and content files, and we've also done a whole soup to nuts, start to finish entire run through on our other videos on this same playlist if you're trying to find them. So now we're into the bit that's called Manage Your Data, and today we are checking the health of your metadata. So if you prefer to get your information through the written word rather than me yabbering away in your ear, then go to this page, which is www.consonance.app, go to Resources, Consonance 101, and look at this page. Or stick around and I'll kind of read it to you, which is great. So we're going to cover that sort of thing today. Back to my list on the old PowerPoints here. So we're going to first of all go to the data checks page within Consonance, and there's one that's kind of at the top level. It's the company-wide view, and it's like a traffic light system that tells you, at a glance, how are we doing across various metrics, and that can either be good news or bad news. And it's sort of time dependent as well, because it's inappropriate to expect that your data is 100% complete the moment you've started the acquisition process for a thing. So this is a long-term endeavour, but we'll have a look at those. Then we'll dive down into the metadata page area just for one work, and we will be looking at what that potentially problematic data looks like and how to fix it. And we'll be picking off a few choice areas: keywords, theme qualifiers, marketing text lengths, and some prices information. We'll have a little scurry around product royalty data checks as well, because that is one sort of type of data that sort of sits slightly apart from metadata, but is really, really useful if you're going into the process of starting your royalties or wanting to understand where you are with your contract data completeness. We'll have a look at seasons. We've had a look at that before on some of these videos, but this is a really nice time to have a look at it, because we can look at the data quality of works that are about to be published, the ones that are kind of front of mind, because those are the ones that all of the attention will be focused on. I'm also going to share my opinion about using your human brain to assess data quality by putting that same data in front of it in a format that you can parse. So, we all get fairly practiced at trying to pick through spreadsheets to sort of get a sense of how the data is going. But something happens when you emit that self-same data to a PDF format, like an advanced information sheet. You know, you start reading it rather than sort of assessing it. You start looking at whether it's good, whether it's nice and pleasing and aesthetically great. So I think it's a really good idea to print out a bunch of your, to emit a bunch of your advanced information sheets and have a look at them and think, is this a good blurb? You know, because it's not a checkbox thing. A blurb is great if it encourages appropriate audience members to purchase the book, or to pick it up from the library, or to be interested. And that's such a human thing. And so I like the idea of putting data in front of us in a human format. And then we'll have a quick look at resolving any metadata or data quality issues in a way that is going to be kind and thoughtful for all team members. So, you know, let's try and avoid firing off emails saying this is wrong. We can have a look at how we can raise the profile of some of these data quality issues in a way that is productive and is going to solve the problem at its root. So quite a packed schedule today. I've said that with these deep dives, I want to, you know, focus on one thing in particular. So we may yet come back to some of these areas in the future, but that's okay because this is a really important area. We do not want to be the person who puts TBA on Amazon. So let's get this right. So I'm going to go to our old friend Feline Press. Feline Press is not a real publisher, but this is the real Consonance. We've got a demo account on the system, and we've been looking for the last few weeks at data within it. Feline Press publishes only books about cats. Why not A? And you'll see that on Feline Press's homepage, dashboard page, we've got our usual options here down the left-hand side. And if we look in under bibliographic, which is the option right at the top there, you'll see that there is the link through to checks. So I'm going to click on that. And what do we see? Whoa, we see a lot of red. And so this is our chance to, you know, start to have a look at how things are going. And remember, this is across all of the different works that are being looked at in the system. So I'm just going to scroll us down this page to have a look at how things are going. You can see there's 50 checks involved. And the further down we go, the rosier the picture gets, actually. You know, no one can say that we don't have theme and main subjects present. Look at that, green all the way through. Lovely stuff. But then we scroll up again and we can see that there's some, I don't really like to call them failures, but some blocked checks. We can't say whether the product height is credible or not for one of these works. And if we click through, we'll see why. But I'll just stay on this page for a bit longer and see. We've got a few other, hums for these. Short description has enough characters. I mean, spoilers. If it's blocked, it's because there's no short description present. But it's not that it's failed, you know. So there's a subtlety about this. But here, oh goodness, some files have serious errors. I mean, this is useful stuff to know about. You want to know about the serious errors now before, 2 weeks after publication when you start getting customer complaints. So this may look a bit red, but it's great stuff to get this insight. But you can see that, all of these checks, there's nothing particularly fancy here. Is a contributor present? Is the page trim height and width present? None of these are hard insights to get your head around. It's just that there's a lot of them because there's a lot of data in publishing. And, you publish one work and it has 5 products, hardback, paperback, audiobook, ebook in EPUB format and EPUB in ebook in PDF format. So that's like 5 things that need to be kept track of. 5 times 50 checks, it adds up. It really does get a bit too much to hold in a human mind and to have any room left for thinking. So it's really good to outsource the problem of just sort of keeping these itty bitty bits of data in the computer so that your head can be freed up for more fruitful activities. So this is our way to say, okay, this is where we are with various things. But it may be, it's not true, but it may be that within your organisation, Onyx audience is not a thing that you care about. You don't care if the audience information goes in your Onyx feed. I mean, you definitely should. But you know, if that's the case, you can suppress it. Suppress for all currently failed products, suppressed by publishing status. So there are absolutely options for you to go in and, you know, sort of tailor the experience to whatever is appropriate for the team. So that's a really useful thing to do. You know, sometimes when clients have just started using Consonance and we've gone through the process of importing all of their legacy data into the system, you know, you come to this page and it's a sea of red. So this can be an ongoing project. It can be a long-term endeavour to get your data quality as high as possible. And it's a good idea to look at the types of checks here and form an organisational opinion about which ones you really care about. And once those are all green, you know, next level down. Thema interest qualifiers may not be top of mind if you're fighting fires on multiple fronts. But once you've got things under control, you know, you can come back and loop back over all of these interesting areas and unsuppress them as appropriate. So, you know, if you need some thoughtful guidance in wrangling with a page like this, then absolutely get in touch. And as you know by now, you go to help and raise a ticket. Or you can look at the documentation, or you can listen to me talking for an hour about data quality. So many options. So we're going to click through and we're going to have a look at some of these failing tests, because this is now the sort of workflow that we would follow. We would come to this page, we would think, gosh, right, that looks serious, let's dive in, have a look. And so I'm going to click on the 13 failed, because who cares about the ones that are passing? That's job done there. And so we can see, oh right, okay, thema interest qualifier is present. And what are the details? The thema subject codes suggest an interest qualifier code is required. So this is fascinating. You know, you've gone in and put in a particular thema subject code, and using the advice from editor, Consonance is able to say, that means that editor recommend that you go ahead and add an interest qualifier code. Editor, by the way, are the people who do this incredible job of publishing the Onyx standard. And the Onyx standard is the language by which we all communicate with each other about data. There'll be another video about that, and there's quite a good deep dive blog post on our website as well, if you look for a beginner's guide to Onyx on it. So. Thema subject codes, well, this is the item that we're interested in there, cats of the world. So we're following our nose. Let's drill down. Let's go to cats of the world and see what the thema codes might be. So here we are, cats of the world. In fact, that self-same cat is asleep, snoring on the bed in the spare room behind me. So it's like, this is Feline Press Central. Very exciting times. So we're now going to go to subjects and we find our thema. Points out of 10. If you didn't want to go to subjects, let's go back to the top of the page. How else would we find the thema codes? We would type thema there and the page whittles down just to give us our thema bit. So use this filter. It's wonderful for finding like headings on the page, but also like big cats. Oops, type big cats gets found as well. So anything that's on this page, when you're on it, you can use the filter to find it. But we're meant to be deep diving into data quality, so stop listening to me about filters. So here we are on thema, and we're going to want to click into edit to see the information that we're after. So do you see here over on the right hand side, it says once you've ticked some codes and they appear below, so someone's done that previously, cats as pets, children's teenage general interest cats, including big cats, these are all there. Once you've ticked some codes and they appear below, drag to reorder the list, fine. The first subject category in the list will be tagged as the main subject. When you're done, click Save. Any code ancestors that remain are stripped out. And then it says, and a place qualifier is suggested. And the educational purpose qualifier is suggested. And the interest qualifier is suggested. Now we're doing okay on the educational purpose one because that's already present. Great news. But we could add in the place qualifier. We can add in an interest qualifier. And whilst we're here, I also want to point out that because we're talking about data quality, we do not let theme codes be added at a top level. Now this is to do with editors' recommendations once again, which you can see in line by clicking on notes. And you can see that then, if I collapse these fields for helpfulness, we pipe in the notes direct from editor, so that you can see them in line rather than having to go off and start searching elsewhere. And it says, do not use code F itself, but select specific categories from section F. And so we bar you from being able to select F there, because it's like, it's fiction, you know, it's like so generic as to be unhelpful. Readers are not going to alight on your, you know, carefully published book by searching for fiction. It's going to be all John le Carré or something. So you're going to be guided to try to give as granular amount of information as possible. You can see the greyed out, well, either greyed out, or if you hover you can read the text that says cannot itself be selected, select more specific categories instead. So that, what do they say? That's a feature, not a bug. we need to make sure that the data quality is precise to enhance discoverability rather than too generic, which just turns this whole effort into busy work rather than fruitful. How do I get my books to sell more? So anyway, so that's why those are greyed out. But what we're looking for is place qualifiers, and so we're going to scroll down to the bottom of the. We could search, but I'll scroll down to the bottom of the theme area here. And we've got the qualifiers, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got place, language, time, educational, interest, and style qualifiers. And this is a case of exploring, browsing the subject tree and seeing, well, what is relevant, what can I deploy from this theme of code list that will send a sort of a coded message to other players in the supply chain so that they can put your book in front of the people who want it the most. So let's have a look. Interest, age and level. Kids like cats, I've heard. Let's say that 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds are core cat audience there. So we'll save that and see if we've made any progress. Well, we have made some progress, good. Educational, fine. Interest qualifier, fine. What about place qualifier? Let's have a look. So let's have a think. I mean, cats. Oh, space cats. This is great using fake data, isn't it? Because now I can say these cats actually no, it's cats of the world. Let's just say no. Let's say world, and also comics as well, because it's funny. Cats of the world, cats on comets. And now it'll be satisfied, present. So, putting comets in does suggest that this data may not be as high quality as it can be, but you've got to use your human capabilities at some point. Constance is going to do as much as it is appropriate to guide you to look at these things. I might just put world above comets. There we go. So that's great. We've gone from top level checks to work level checks, and we have looked at the theme codes to make sure that we're happy with that. Now that we're here, we've got local checks available to us. So we were on the top level checks here, looking there, but now we're at the work level, and we have a work level check page. So I'm going to click on that, and we can see how we're doing. And it's the same sort of thing, you know, but we've got this nice bar at the top that says, oh, a quarter of them have failed, but, you know, we're not doing too badly. We're really not. But now we can start whittling away, you know. I mean, absolute classic, ISBN is not present. I mean, if this is fast approaching publication time, this is something you really need to know, because it's not going to be ingested properly by various business partners if you don't have the ISBN. And some other things there, some other things. Onyx audience is missing. So there's all of those areas that we could look at, and you know, sort of, it actually you get quite a lot of bang for your buck, because look, hardback, paperback, and EPUB. If you solve that one, the multiple contributor product has no biographical note marketing text. You know, you get rid of 3 in one go, which is quite pleasing. It can be quite, you know, quite a feel-good moment to race to green when it's possible. But so we could, you know, we could trundle through this. We can send this file information back to the producer of the file, which we'll talk about in a moment. But let's just nip back to the metadata page, because there are some other aspects that I'd like to just point out whilst we're looking at it. I'm going back to the subject area, because one of the failing checks was that there weren't enough keywords. And so what I'm going to do is come to the keywords area. Again, I could go keywords and that would whittle it down for me, lovely. And so I could say, okay, well, insufficient keywords, right, well, let's go and have cats of the world. Is that what you want? And then if we save that, Consonance will say, no, that is not what we want, because look, you've introduced words that are going to be of limited use to in the best case, and may potentially stop an automatic parser looking any further into your keywords. And so, you know, we're talking about Amazon here really, and other partners who are going to be taking your keywords and using them to fuel their search engines. And there's this idea of stop words, where if the bit of code that is running through your keywords comes to a word such as of or the, it stops and it doesn't process anymore, which is super bad. So it's really worth paying attention to what we found here, you know, looking at the stop words and stripping them out. And any other sort of infractions will also occur. We've only got a couple here at this time, but you know, this is a great one. The keywords are similar to titles. It's a waste of words, because as well as stop words, there's this notion that there's only a limited number of characters that Amazon are going to parse. And so you know, Amazon, it's a bit difficult to know exactly what they are at any one time, but, you know, say that that's 200 characters. That's a precious amount of characters, and you want to really make the most of it. So having the same words as in the title is absolutely redundant. Don't do it. So we can get rid of that, and that frees us up more information to really, you know, make the most of our human knowledge about this book. So I'm going to say, because I've read the book doesn't exist, but pretend I have. Grasslands, lovely. Now, is that going to cause any bother? Grasslands is fine. Yes, so, you know, really just make sure that you don't waste the keywords that are available to you. And if you want to read about this instead of having to scroll to this bit in the video when you next come to it, you know, use the inline help here. So I'm clicking on the eye icon there, the information icon. And whenever you click on that and you see a read more, in that moment, you're actually quite a receptive audience to a great big long essay about stuff. So, you know, take advantage of this being right here when you are actually motivated to get your own data right. You know, have a scan of the sort of stop words. Consonance will tell you what they are when you accidentally enter them. But you know, this is our sort of distilled insight at any given time, based on the information that gets out into the public domain about what Amazon are looking for, about what other people are looking for, and so on. So definitely worth clicking on read more whenever you see it for any sort of topic like this, and then closing it. So we've looked at theme qualifiers, we've looked at keywords. Next thing I want to show you is short description length. So that was one of the other checks down there that we saw. I've popped short into the filter here, and that has taken me to the marketing text bit that contains short. And I'm going to open this up and see that, you know, we've entered this as a short description. Clicking on the information icon says limited to a maximum of 350 characters. This is us trying to say, please limit this to 350 characters, because if you do this, making it much more than 350 characters, then Consonance is not going to say no, it's going to say okay. And then when we look in check results, it's going to say short description is within the 350 character limit, it's failed. And so, you know, this is a balance that we try and walk. We do not want to do that computer says no thing where you're hammering on the save button and for some reason that the interface isn't telling you it's not saving and you're stuck and it's, you know, 5 p.m. and you need to go home. So we're not going to block you, but we are going to make sure that we raise your awareness of problems that may have just occurred. So that can be quite useful to understand that sort of more sort of subtle data quality hints that you get. Really, the rule there is keep looking at the check results. You know, put a to-do in for relevant times along the process where you check the various check results. So, you know, let the computer take the load of the analysis, but make sure that you build when you want that analysis to be relevant into your own human-defined workflow. And on that note, in the final bit that we're going to look at on the metadata page, I want us to look at pricing, because in prices we've got another more subtle suggestion approach. So no one's going to say, Consonance is not going to say $99 for a paperback. That's too high. We're not going to let you save that. Instead, Consonance is going to say 784% of GBP. Heavens, that's quite toppy. So we're going to colour it in red and we're going to present that data on the page for to be able to be read at 784% of GBP. And it, you know, because that's worth having a think about. It may be entirely appropriate that the USD price is much more than that, and your human brain and your organisational processes will know that. But it's just a handy piece of feedback in this moment to say, well, this is the maths, this is the fact of the matter, this is the difference between the USD price and the GBP price. And if you're happy with that, then that's absolutely fine. On the note of pricing, if you need more automated ways of managing price changes, price relationships, different currency amounts, definitely get in touch. There's a bag of automation behind the scenes that can be brought to bear if you need it, but we're talking about the interface today. But it's probably worth saying that this sort of scratches the surface of what is possible and usual with pricing. Right, so we've looked at the metadata page. I'm going to go back to my list here. We've done keywords, we've done theme qualifiers, we've looked at marketing text, length and prices. Next, we're going to have a quick squiz at royalty data checks. Now, in our imaginary system here, we don't have much sales information and we don't have much royalty information, really, because I have to kind of fake it, and there's a limit to my appetite in sort of making up data. So I'll take you to the financial area so that we can see where the royalty checks are. And then I'm just going to show you a screenshot from another account so that you can see what it might look like with more real data. So, you know, we've been looking at metadata checks. This is royalty checks, and this is really the start of the royalties process. You know, before you do anything, look at your royalty checks, see if there are any real gotchas, within your data. So I've gone to financial, I'm going to click on royalty checks, and it's all looking rosy here in imaginary feline press world, because one payee is present, great, and payee splits total 100%. I mean, this is a really nice check because, you know, if you've entered in your contractual information, you've said overall everyone's going to get, it's going to be 10% of net receipts, rising to 12% after 1,000 copies. And we're going to divide it up like this, and Bob's going to get this much, and Alice is going to get this much. And if those divisions add up to 101.2%, very bad times. That's like breaking maths and being unfair to potentially Alice or Bob or someone else. So it's really nice to have that check run so that you can see at a glance we're green going into our royalty period. And at least one payee is present, again, another absolute doozy. And again, these checks aren't hard, but it's just really nice to see these all in one place. It's a really good use of a computer, being able to aggregate and present for our information, this information on the page. So we are looking at like fake data here. I am going to find this page. This is from Snowbooks, from the publishing company that I still run, and the company that was the genesis for Consonance, actually. And there's all good reasons for this, but this is like real life data. So at least one payee is present. Well, 4 of the contracts have failed. So what's going on with that? You know, we can click through. All list price sales have list prices. And so you look at that and you think, well, what does that mean? So if there's a royalty specifier and it's not based on net receipts, it's based on list price, you know, the $7.99 printed on the back of the book, then, and if you have sales that you've achieved somewhere else and they've got a list price, you know, if one of those is missing, then that means that the calculation is going to be inaccurate. So that's lovely to know about again. Pay splits total 100%, very useful to know, as we said. Product with sales has pub date. I mean, you know, if you're starting to pay money out to authors or other contributors, you know, you want to have made sure that you've put the pub date in for the product, because the pub date is such kind of a keystone piece of metadata, without which it's going to really struggle to sell. So it's a nice sort of, it's a bit of a crossover metadata royalties check there. And then royalty specifiers are present for all sales. So, you know, you import sales, and each of those sales transaction lines needs to have its royalty amount calculated on it. And if any of those are missing, then, you know, if there's not a good reason, then that's a problem again. So, you know, really, again, really, really useful. And, you know, all of these failed ones, it's because, you know, it's really good reasons, cancelled, or products that have yet to come to market, but maybe had 2 pre-sales or something. So, you know, it's not that it's a damning indictment, but it's a really useful sense check to compare against what you know reality to be. So royalty checks are a great version of data quality. Next up is seasons. And as I said earlier, the really interesting thing about this is that the mind is very sharp as we approach publication. Many different people's attentions throughout the organisation are focused on whether the data is in the right place at the right time for the right people, and so on. And so all of the data stuff we've looked at so far, we're going to look at again, but wrapped up into this notion of a season. Actually, let's backtrack. Let's go back to our metadata page. The seasons are managed at the top of the metadata page in in-house work classifications. Right here, Cats of the World belongs to Spring/Summer 2024. And these are my words, you know, or whoever runs Feline Press's words. and it can be whatever you like. You type the name of the season into season, and if it doesn't exist, you click create that season, and then you can apply it. But we're not interested in that, which I'll have to delete. We're interested in spring summer 2024. So that's where you add seasons in, and you can add them in bulk by going to the products page and selecting the ones that are in that season, in the relevant season, and then using the batch actions to add them in. But so once you've got your works tagged as being within a particular season, you can then do the bit that we're about to do. So go to workflow, and then there's an option under here called seasons. By the way, look, I've got options called grid and product list, and that's because I, as the proprietress of Feline Press, have got in touch with the marvellous support team at Consonance and have asked for some grids to be set up, and you should do the same. But we're going to look at seasons right now, and there's the one I just created that's now redundant. But we're going to look at spring summer 2024, so I click in, and what I get is an aggregated view of different sorts of data for all of the works that exist in that season. So if you think about it, going into summer, you've got your big summer list, all of the products publishing in May perhaps, with a few left, a few that you've selected from June and July to be in as well, because this is not data driven. You have selected which works go into which seasons. We're not assuming anything by pub date or anything like that. So all of those works you can be looking at as this sort of lump of data, and it's really useful. It's surprisingly useful. So overview, easy stuff at the top, whatever. 41 works, 53 products, 2 contacts, 1 series. These 2 contacts are doing a lot of heavy lifting, right? Because these are the contributors. So in imaginary Feline Press world, we've got just a couple of in-house writers by the looks of things, and we're focusing heavily on 1 series. But immediately my brain is thinking, well, that works for the reality of this press. But you might think, wow, so we're doing like 53 products and 48 contributors. No wonder we're rushed off our feet. That's a lot of individual people to manage. So insights. We've got 41 contracts. 2 have got a total of 2 discussions. So you think, well, that's kind of on the low side. Where is all of the communication happening if it's not happening in discussions? Prompts the thought, doesn't it? And then 222 to-dos, and these are links, so you can click through and drill down, and whatever looks most interesting and curious to you, you're there in the right place to start assessing it, clicking through. Scrolling down this page, we see even more interesting things. And even more interesting is when they're tagged up with a rather alarming red warning sign, because that's telling me that 17 of the works in this season, the ones that are just about to publish, nobody's gone in and put a marketing tier in yet. And we all agreed at the beginning of the year that we were going to, go large on marketing tiers. So if that's important to you, then that's really useful to know and think, well, we need to make good on the strategic plans that we put in place. If you're calling marketing tiers A star, like I have done here, and if 100% of them are in A star, then you might also think, are we really making the most of splitting out our products and our works into different tiers? So all sorts of things can be interesting. Works by work type. If you've got objectives that you've set, then this is a great way to look at this information. And works by product stage. If this is the spring summer 2024 season that you're going into, and you've still got to work at the acquisition stage, then that bears further investigation, right? Scrolling down, workflow. Here's our to-dos. 13 to-dos not done. Looks. 143 to-dos not done. 100 to-dos overdue, which is a problem. So clicking through, drilling down. And then you can see some interesting stuff about works by fulfillment of roles. These bits are under development. That's your code for let us know if there's anything that you'd like to see on this page, because we're changing it, we're adding to it all the time. So if you think, oh, this would be so great if I could just see all of the issues or whatever, let us know. Go to help and raise a ticket. What have we got next? Bibliography. So this is how the season breaks down in terms of product form. Quite interesting. Look at us going large on downloadable audio this year. Works by imprint, fairly normal. If you're doing open access, that's quite interesting to know. If you've got many series, that's quite interesting to know as well. This is fascinating. Product form combinations per work. So if you've got a strategy where you're going to publish in as many different formats as possible, it's really nice to see, we've got 4 works where we're hitting, the big 4: audio, hardback, paperback and ebook. But unfortunately, for 32 of them, we're only doing it in paperback, but that's okay, progress. So all very interesting. Having publishing status be unknown is super ropey, close to publication. So that looks like it needs looking at. What's next? Contributors. So contributor insights. 2 people have unspecified current residency. So that's a bit of data quality there to care about. Oh, and look at that, works by contribution role combinations. So one work's got both an author and a series edited by. Why do none of these works have illustrators or translators on? Maybe that's because there aren't any, but if you failed to classify your metadata properly, then that's an issue. Here's some Onyx information, which is going to be a bit problematic on a demo site, but for you, this will be a great place to look. And then right at the bottom is the check information that will now be familiar to you, because these are our check results. But now, rather than scoped at the company level or at the work level, these are scoped at the season level. And so just the works that, are about to become top priority, you can see how we're doing. And thank God this is a pretend account, because if this is spring summer 2024 and the ISBN isn't present yet, then someone's going to be needing to add those pretty soon. So that's really useful. So I really like that page, and it's like a big payoff actually. If you classify your works with the season and the work type and the marketing tier and all of the other important hard work that you do, then you get payoffs like this. You get insights which can help you make your metadata even better. And you'll notice that we are scoping the role of Consonance to be aggregating information and offering it up to you for your sensible brain to assess and to understand. None of this is AI. This is all very understandable, very aggregated rather than make-believe, which I feel is the right side of the use of computers. So let's have a look at what else we were going to cover. And on that note of, not using AI, let's have a look at how we can bring the human touch to looking at this sort of data. So we're going to look at advanced information sheets and maybe briefings as well. So, we've been looking at a lot of these sort of numbers and cards and data printed out on the page, but why don't we just go back and look in data exchange and exports, and we'll download the advanced information sheet for this particular product, and we'll just look at it, and we'll just we'll just get a sense of whether this is compelling sales material. And it's not working for me, because this is like, I have to admit I copied and pasted it from Wikipedia. So don't do that, because clearly no one's going to buy this book. It's not very good. But this is a really great way to sort of get a sense of how your retail customers will meet this book for the first time. Nicely laid out, with the author information next to the selling points, next to the main description here. And have you done a good job of painting a picture of what this what this product is gonna feel like. Do the prices make sense when they're printed in this sort of more formal way? You know, does this look right? Does the page count look right? You know, these are judgments that you can't necessarily say we're going to have a set of rules and we're going to say that the subject codes are going to be hitting particular boxes, because every book is different. So I really like being able to eyeball the data like this in a nice format. And it's for the topic of another video to see how to get these out in bulk. But if you look, whether we've done it in the past or the future, I can't remember. But downloading your advanced information sheets in bulk is a great way to be able to zoom through them all. And another way that we can look at this data, if it's not in advanced information sheet format, maybe, is in the sort of briefing area. And so I printed one out earlier. Actually, no, there we go. Let's have a look at the PDF. So, this is like your in-house information. This is the short description that I, bodged earlier. But again, we can look at this and we can say, yep, the contributors look right. The key selling points look compelling. And then the product information looks right again. Is the series edited? So, just get the data into a format that looks great. And then the next stage is going in and changing the data to make it, to iterate on it, I suppose, to make it as good as it can be. So if you are responsible not only for finding the data quality issues, but also amending them, then life can be a little bit more straightforward, really. You can just do it yourself. Notice an issue, dive in, change it to something that's going to pass the sort of judgment test. Great, job done. But if you're working in a more of a spread out way, where there are different teams and different people responsible for maintaining data like this, or if you want to be well-mannered and polite and let the teams who are affected by this know that you're going to be looking at changing data, then I would say that there are two really good ways to work on that. The first has a little bit of a remove about it. The first is to add a to-do. And so we go to the to-dos for the work and we say, review data quality. There may be a data quality to-do already down, but if you come to this, you look at the current to-dos and you think, it's not there actually, then we can be saying, editorial, and however you want to do it, review data quality, and then you can set somebody responsible for doing that, either a role, or if you know the individual person, then you can put that down, and you can leave it as a checkbox kind of a to-do like that with no due date, or quite appropriately, I think you could say, well, let's say 3 months before the pub date. I think it's appropriate that data is looking really good before then. If you're doing it just as I'm doing it now, leave it as an ad hoc to do, because you might not want to have to do this to do for lots of different, if you want to copy this later, then ad hoc to do's don't get copied into new works. And then we just save that. And then that's a to do in the system where you have, made a note whilst you're thinking about it, that needs doing, and it will be flagged as overdue if that is now overdue, like the rest of it. It seems. So that's one way to do it, and I think the best way to do that is if that's the understood process within your organisation. If everyone's agreed that, gosh, if we find something and it doesn't look right, then pop in a to do, tag me in it, and then I'll resolve it. Otherwise, it's a little bit like sort of just giving somebody a job without asking permission first. So a more sort of discursive approach might be to start a discussion. on the particular work, and you might call it something like data quality, and you might use, a bit of preamble to say, I was, just browsing through the thing today, and I couldn't help but notice that there was a bit of a problem with the publication dates and the subject qualifier schemes. Full stop. I was wondering if it would be at all possible. Do you know what I mean? Like, put a wrapper of sort of human communication around it, and then send that off to whoever you think it is appropriate. This is so today. I'm Emma at Feline at Consonance, and I'm sending it to Emma Feline at Snowbooks, completely different person. And then that will, that can start a discussion. You can collaborate on solving the problem. So it's really nice to have those tools available close to the data, so that you've started this discussion on Cats of the World. That's where the discussion will remain. That person gets an email in their regular email client if they've accepted that, and then yes, it can be more of a teamwork back and forth way of solving it. If you wanted to get really kind of let's put this on someone's agenda, then there's also the issues management, which is, I won't add one in, but if you do it, it looks a lot more like this, where it's got severity status, somebody who has been allocated responsibility for it, and it can be kind of, tackled at a progress meeting or something like that. So again, resolve this within your organisation to decide what the process should be for dealing with data quality. Understand the tools that are available, use them appropriately, and use them in a way that is commensurate with your overall plan for the team. But there's plenty of ways to both understand what the data is looking like, and also to resolve and improve and iterate. I should mention one last thing before we clock off for the day, which is that data quality happens over the life of the product, and it's never too late to improve, including post-publication, because reviews come in and enhancements come in, and you might read a review of one of the books and they use some really interesting keywords. So it's great when books perform strongly on the backlist as well. So it's always something that I would encourage people to think of as an ongoing project. Don't race to the finish. It's something that can be updated on an ongoing basis. And the way that those updates get out into the world is through Onyx, which brings us very nicely onto next week's topic, which will be starting to look at how Onyx works within Consonance. Massive topic. We're not going to be able to cover everything all in one 1 hour session, but we will make a good stab at starting to understand where you go in Consonance to see who is getting your data, in what format, and when, and under what circumstances. So that will be really awesome, because the easier we can get data out there, the more books we can sell. So thank you very much indeed for coming along today. Hope that was useful. Don't forget to subscribe and like, so that you get to find out when these sessions are being published. And also, if you're a Consonance client, make sure that you are signed up to our community as well. We do invite everybody, and everyone does get emails. It would be just really nice if you're thinking, gosh, I don't receive emails, then you might want to check your spam or something like that, or get in touch with us to find out. But for now, thank you very much indeed for coming along, and speak to you next week when it's all about